tropical moisture coming in, and for us it wasn't a question of if, it was just a question of when.
Yeah.
So last night it was a waiting game, and once it started, I mean, we are talking about the most rainfall we have ever seen here in any given day,
right,
ever in the history of record keeping in Phoenix. This is epic.
Well, and more than doubling what we've had for the entire year.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Iris said that. I mean, it was 2.22 so far for the year prior to today.
Correct.
Yeah.
So we have gotten over an inch of that,
yes,
more in just a matter of hours.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
How does this go down when you look at the weather standards? I mean, this is obviously one for the history books.
Yeah.
I know when you tweeted out, you said doubling down this
yeah,
morning. It really is unbelievable. But talk about maybe what your colleagues and meteorologists around the nation, because it seems like many of them just on Twitter are focused on what we're doing and how we're handling this.
Oh yeah, because this is the weather story across the country right now. I've been tweeting all morning long with the producers at Good Morning America, the weather producers there, as well as Ginger, and letting them know what's going on here. And I would not be surprised at all if this made world news tonight as one of their top stories, because this is just incredible.
Unprecedented. We were talking about Chandler getting 5.39 inches. Think about that for a second. 5 inches of rain is just absolutely unheard of. And then in Phoenix to have, last total I got was 3.29, I think, from Iris. So
yeah,
just amazing. And of course, all this water has to go someplace, and in the desert, that's the problem.
That's the problem. And we have a lot of people here that are transplants from other parts of the country, and they may come from places where 5 inches doesn't seem like that much. But when you are talking about the desert, this is a really big deal. I mean, we have, especially when you go for days at a time with no rain, the ground crusts over, and so it makes it incredibly difficult for the ground to absorb rain coming down that quickly. When you have softer soil there, it takes it in. When you have a crust on top of it, it is almost all runoff, and especially in the city as well, where it's all concrete. That's not going to absorb everything. All of that is running off, and we see how much it pools in areas like I-10, when that was already turning into just a lake at what, 4 or 5 o'clock this morning. I mean, it started early.
The good news in this, I guess, is we talked to Central Arizona Project, and they were saying in this last storm that Lake Pleasant, which is where this water, a lot of our water will run off to, and that's where we kind of reserve for future use, went up about 4 feet. With this one, we probably will see it go up even more. And of course, if you've been out to any of our lakes or the dry riverbeds that are out there, we can use all the water we can get. In Lake Pleasant, it would be great to have a little bit more.
Yeah, it's good in our lakes. It's good for our drought if we can get it in the lakes, and it's always good if what is absorbed into the ground is good for our drought and our soil moisture. But runoff is not helpful. And that's what we're seeing too much of today.
And this is what we're seeing more and more right here coming in from AR-15. People playing in these waters. I just have to remind people that you really don't know what's in that water. I mean, you're concerned about everything from regular trash that the water may have picked up to even oils and things like that. So just a heads up to the families out there. We've done stories on this in the past that those waters can be certainly dirty. But Amber, I want to bring you back in because it was Friday night. You and I were sitting right here in this very spot. You were saying that, hey, I got to warn you, Monday morning, Chris, when you go to work, it's going to be bad. And in all seriousness, could you ever have imagined it would have been something like this? Connie said 5 inches of rain in Chandler. Excuse me if I'm not mistaken, and forgive me if I'm wrong here, but I think that our average rainfall for Phoenix Metro is typically in 1 year 7 inches. And when you're talking about, what, 3 inches in 1 day, that is significant. Did you ever have imagined?
Well, I mean, it really looked like we were going to get a lot, but as I told you on Friday, my forecast at that point was about 1 to 2 inches. So we have surpassed that in a lot of places. And then, of course, Sunday night, when nothing's happening yet and you're playing the waiting game, as a forecaster and a little insight to the forecast process here, you deal with people saying, where is it? What's happening? And when they start to question it, you start to doubt.
Of course.
And so last night I took it down to about 1 inch to 1.5 inches for the 10 o'clock show because, again, it was 10 o'clock. We still hadn't seen anything. The doubt's starting to set in, but we had dew points in the upper 60s at 10 o'clock last night. The upper level moisture, you could see it on the water vapor imagery, was still coming in. Everything in place. All we needed was something to trigger it. And we got that something overnight. And because we had all of that pent-up moisture from the entire day Sunday with nothing happening, I mean, it was
really
seriously go time. I mean, this is a once-in-a-lifetime event.
It is amazing indeed.
Well,